In the old days, say pre-war, during the war, and post-war, up to about the 1960s, women fed their families by going to the sea and gleaning, meaning gleaning for invertebrates, shells most of the time, bivalves and gastropods, and also small octopus and abalone. And they would turn rocks, but they would return the rocks. They knew that the rocks and the corals was where they would find food. And if they didn't turn them back to where they belonged, the food will not be able to grow back. And then the start of the boom in sending women abroad as domestic helpers. And once that happened, gleaning basically declined. In 2012, I think it was, we interviewed gleaners on the coast of Batangas. And we found some women, elderly women, in their 70s or in their 80s. So when they were kids, when they were young wives, they did all of this and they enjoyed going to the beach. But they don't do that anymore because then they can go to the supermarket now get what they need.
In American Samoa, women catch a third of the inshore catch through gleaning, despite only making up about 17% of fishers. And the second story that I have is that in Ocean View in South Africa, which is near Cape Town, there is a South African Fisherwomen's Association that's made up of 75 members, all women, and they each go out and take their boats to fish for lobster and crayfish 2 to 3 times a week.
Some of my favorite stories involve women in the Alaska salmon fisheries. They're totally badass young fisherwomen who get their commercial licenses as young as 11. Sometimes they carry rifles for bear self-defense, and many have gone on to create businesses elsewhere and raise awareness of Alaskan salmon. One business that I like is Salmon Sisters, which is an apparel company, and another is Iliamna Fish Company, which sells sockeye directly to customers in New York City.
The first time I encountered women in fisheries was in Tunisia. I went to this boat and it had I think 3 or 4 fishermen, and I asked them how much fish did you land this morning. So they said, oh, you need to talk to the boss. And I was like, okay, where's the skipper? And I hear a voice, woman's voice from far, asking me what I needed. And I turned, it was this amazing, small, but very tough-looking woman, very, nice, and she was smiling, and she gave me the information I needed. And then I asked her, how she found herself in this situation, and she just told me that 20 years ago, her husband, who was a fisherman, passed away, and she found herself with children and with a boat. So now she has 4 fishermen working for her. She goes with them every day to the offshore areas, and she's very respected. Everyone knows her in the port, and it's amazing in a way where I'd never thought it existed.
When visiting the Gulf of Georgia cannery down in Steveston, the tour guide was explaining that during the war, a lot of the men had left, and so a lot of the workers were women, and the women filled every position, including the production line where the fish come in. They have to chop up the fish, take the guts out, and slice them into little pieces. And these women, because they didn't have anyone at home, would have to bring their babies into work. And so they would have, for 14 hours during a day, standing, chopping cold fish, they would have their babies on their backs. And I just thought that was just an incredible fact.
When I think about women in fisheries, it's actually emblematic of women generally in our society, in that they account for a huge amount of the catch in fisheries and the work in fisheries. They often haven't been recognized for that, even to the point where the name for one who fishes is fisherman. And the fact that most of the work that they do in terms of processing, fixing nets, admin stuff, auctioning fish, they often don't get paid for any of that. So women have been marginalized in fisheries. We're watching this change now. I know that in my graduate program and at the Sea Around Us, there are so many women, and the role of women as managers in fisheries, while they're definitely a minority right now, again, that's changing, and it's a really exciting time to be in this field.